Good hit. Center max.
Agent vital signs, 0.
Every fucking time, dude. Yeah.
Vital signs critical.
Assume they know you're coming.
Taking fire.
Agent in need of backup. Agent deceased.
Alright, did they just seriously show me aiming on the dude and then put it on the fucking wall and let me kill myself? I mean, how fucking idiotic. The fact that you guys would even let the agent do that, it reflects so poorly. What's up, agents? How y'all doing? Hope everybody's being safe out there, at least as safe as you need to be. So, it's the new season here. It's been a while since I've dabbled in the status effects. Overall, they've been pretty overpowered when I have, so I decided to go back, revisit my old McGyver-clipse build, which was kind of the jack of all trades build variation. If you guys are interested, the link to my original status effect video, doing really well, it's right up there, and that has quite a few different variations you can check out. This is a new variation that I'm codenaming the McGyver-clipse, and what we're doing, the MacGyver, comes from the fact we're going to be using the Memento backpack in this bad boy. So this will add a bit of damage to it, to our weapon damage. It will add quite a bit of survivability, and the skill efficiency should jack up our damage potential, not only with the direct hit, but the damage over time as well. So this should be a lot of fun. Well, you know, we'll get right on into the build. We'll check it out and see. I'll just go ahead and say we're going to expect to see a little bit of ramp-up time. Obviously, we're not going to be doing maximum damage right out the gate. We're going to need to build up to those M30 stacks in order to really get the output, the survivability, and everything that goes with this build. But without further ado, we'll get right on into it. Do me a favor, guys. Smash that like button. If you guys haven't already subscribed, hopefully by the end of this, I will have earned your subscription. If you guys learned something new, or you think this could help one of your teammates or somebody you know, please share the video. That's one of the best things you can do. And if you guys are in a position where you can afford it, consider donating. That gives me more time to delve into this and kind of come up with some cool builds. And lastly, please comment. Let me know. Is this build one of the variations that I'm testing out? One of the comments I got recently is, why don't I try more with the Firestarter? So guess what? We're going to get into that in a bit. So without further ado, let's get on into the build. Thanks for watching, agents. Alright, agents. First thing we're going to do is talk about the specialization. You guys can use the firewall if you want to. This will get you some extra burn duration, some other things. But I prefer to use the technician for quite a few reasons. First of all, we get the amped. This will give us a +1 skill tier, which will allow us to run one additional piece of other weapon or armor core. So I prefer armor. This adds to my survivability. But if you find your survivability is just fine, go ahead, slot that into weapon damage. That's perfectly fine, perfectly acceptable. Second thing, because we're going to be using the hive, we will have the Faraday field as long as we're within 5 meters of the hive. That also counts for our teammates as well. This will keep us from being shocked or disrupted. We'll get access to the link laser pointer. This will help us to help our team by pulsing enemies. This will allow people to be able to keep track of different targets, and if anybody's using spotter, this allows them to get their bonus damage without having to have a dedicated person running pulse. If for some reason you are in a group and somebody else is running the hive, or for some reason you elect to, you do have access to the artificer hive, and you can use this to buff your other skill as well as the entire team. Last thing to note right now for this is you get access to the dismantling. This will give you the bonus damage to the robotics, proxies, and such, any kind of inorganic material. And even with everything min-max, this still ends up being a 5% additional damage bonus, even with diminishing returns. So quite beneficial right there. All right, so that's what I recommend as far as the specialization. All right, agents, as far as the gear and brand sets go, we are going to be running 4 pieces of the Eclipse protocol. Running 4 pieces of the Eclipse protocol will give us the additional status effect damage, it will give us this additional skill haste, and it will give us plus 30% hazard protection. Don't expect that hazard protection to save your ass. We're going to be doing so much damage with this. If you put your skills in the wrong place, you will kill yourself. So the 4 piece is what we're really looking for, and this means that when we kill an enemy, it will transfer all the status effects to all the rest of the enemies within the area. We're going to go with the Memento, and this is simply because it gives us 1 weapon core, it gives us the armor core, and it gives us the skill tier. For the short-term buff, every time you pick it up, you get a 10-second buff that adds 5% weapon damage for every weapon core. We have 1 weapon core, that's 5% weapon damage. In addition, you get 10% bonus armor for each armor core. We're running 2 armor cores in this, so we will get 20%
Agent
bonus
requesting
armor
backup.
for 10 seconds. You get 5% skill efficiency for each utility we have. And we are going to be running with 5 utility. Amped does not count towards this. This counts towards our actual skill tier, but it does not actually count as a slot. So that means we will be getting 25% bonus skill efficiency. There's also a long-term buff we get the last 300 seconds. That's 5 minutes. At M30, you have a 30% weapon damage bonus. You have a 30% skill efficiency bonus, and you're regenerating 3% of your health or your armor every second. And that's on top of getting bonus armor every time you pick up a trophy. And so that means that will be damage you take will be taken away from the bonus armor first and not the actual armor you're healing. So this is a huge benefit as long as you can maintain those stacks. So lastly, we'll talk about the chest piece. The chest piece, we'll just go ahead and you got a couple choices here. The best one would most likely be a Golan if you want to maximize your damage over time, but I wanted to round it out a bit. I went with the Wyvern. This will give me plus 10% skill damage. In addition, you'll notice this Wyvern has skill damage and status effects as the attributes. So this nets me 20% skill damage and 10% status effects. Because of the diminishing return of stacking too much of any one thing, I feel I get a little more bang for my buck out of running a Wyvern, but there is an argument that the Golan would be best in slot. Now, another option to note, if you do not have the perfect Golan or Wyvern, and you are willing to lose out on a little bit of immediate damage, you can choose Murakami. The skill haste mod, the skill duration mods do not adjust the burn duration for some reason. However, the brand set plus 20% skill duration does. So if you either use the 1-piece Murakami, or if in another version of the build, say you were to use 3 pieces of Wyvern, you'd get the skill damage, you'd get the status effects, and then you would get that skill duration. That would add actual damage over time. It wouldn't add to your DPS, but it would add sustained damage. So something to consider right there. But in our case, we are going to be using the Wyvern. Now, let's talk about the talents. For the chest piece, we're going to be using Glass Cannon. That is because it's going to be the highest net and gross damage we can get, period. We are trying to offset, mitigate some of the damage we will take through the use of Memento, the bonus armor, as well as that healing that you will get once you're at M30. There's a couple other variations you could run if you don't want to run Glass Cannon, if you're too squishy, or you just don't like this feeling of the build. You could run Skilled. This has the chance to reset your skill cooldowns, so that can bring your sticky bomb back that much faster, or just give you one of the charges of your hive back that much faster. This is a great skill if you are already doing more damage than you really need to be doing. If you want to buff your team, you can go with something like Overwatch. This means you can hang out and cover. 10 seconds later, you're going to be buffing everybody's damage by 12%, both their weapon and their skill damage. Another option, since you're using Technician and we're using the Link laser pointer on certain weapons, you could run Spotter. This means you get 15% amplified damage. So this is similar to Glass Cannon. It's multiplicative damage at the end of the equation. This would be a 1.15 multiplier versus Glass Cannon's 1.25. Totally viable. And lastly, this is, I really wouldn't consider it, but if you don't have anything better, you could go with Trauma. This gives you the ability to blind people or cause bleed. However, since we're not using Creeping Death, and it's just, its utility is easily surpassed by other options. So second, we'll talk about if you don't have the Memento. I mean, the Memento is kind of what makes this build, but if you are working to get your Memento, you want to try out this build. Otherwise, this is where you could use a Wyvern and a GL, and that will net you skill damage and the status effects. You can use a second Wyvern, that will give you skill damage and status effects if you want. Or you can mix it up, do a GL Murakami, or a Wyvern and a Murakami. But anyway, backpack talents that are viable. I guess the biggest argument for the backpack would be whether you want to use Creeping Death to immediately spread the effects and thus increase the chances of one of them dying and then spreading the Eclipse Protocol indirect transmission. So Creeping Death is a viable option to help to spread everything quicker. Another totally viable option, and it might actually be better, is Galvanize, because if you're within 20 meters of any enemy that you apply a status effect, it will give you 40% of your armor as bonus armor. So this will stack with the Memento as well, and this works for your teammates. So this is great in a group. Another group perk that may work good would be to go with something like Opportunistic. Since we are going to be using the Scorpio some of the time, you could choose for that to be your main weapon, and you can use that to debuff enemies, and everything will do that much more damage. And then on the other end, if you want to go more of the skill build route, you got your tech support, and you got your combined arms if you wanted to go this route for just more raw damage. I like in the status effect builds to use things with more utility, but if you have the right pieces with tech support or combined arms, they are definitely viable. So that pretty much wraps it up for the gear. Alright, first we'll talk about the Hive when we talk about the skills, because the Hive is used in every iteration of this build. It's used both offensively and defensively, and the cool thing is you don't have to have a full Hive. A lot of the time I'm running around with 1, 2, 3 charges in it, and I just wait for 1 or 2 charges to be ready, throw at a group of enemies to cause that bleed, and usually that bleed will be enough to kill one enemy, refresh, and keep that going. So you don't need to feel like you need to keep your Hive topped off all the time. So the Stinger Hive in this iteration, we do just over 835,000 with the initial explosion. This is base damage, right? So that's the explosion hit. And then the damage, the bleed damage is 61,000, just a little bit above 60,000 per tick. Now the other skills we're going to be using, there's only 2 skills I feel are really good with this build. I'll talk about the honorable mention first. The honorable mention, the third one, would be the Explosive Seeker Mine. This thing will attempt to track enemies, explode, and cause bleed. The problem is it's just not a whole lot of bleed, and despite the larger radius that this has compared to the cluster mines, the enemies, especially in Heroic and Legendary, seem really adept at being able to wait till the last second and just roll out of the way. So that can be very frustrating, very disheartening at times, and so that's why I would go with these other 2 options. So my go-to is the Burn Sticky Bomb. So in this iteration of the build, our Burn Sticky Bomb does almost 1.5 million on the initial hit and easily burns for over 400,000. And as you guys will see in the gameplay, those numbers just go up from there as we start stacking up other buffs. The other option that we have, and it's totally viable, and I want to go ahead and thank one of the guys who commented. Yep, there you go. All right, as you guys can see with the Firestarter, right, we do well over 500,000 with the initial burst, and we're burning for quite a bit, over 250,000 per tick. And once again, this all gets buffed over and over again. Now, the damage that we get from the Burn Sticky Bomb is substantially higher, has a larger blast radius. However, the Firestarter is a lot more forgiving when it comes to your aim and the fact that you can blanket a much larger area, set everything off at one time, and you have a more significant chance of catching at least one enemy on fire, burning them out, and then spreading through the indirect transmission that burn damage to everybody else. And at the same time, you could be dropping in your hive to create some extra bleed on top of it. So both the sticky bomb and the Firestarter are totally viable, completely. You just got to figure out which one is better for your play style, which one you like better. So you guys found another status effect damage over time skill that works good with this, please let me know. And at the end, as I show some damage numbers and I show the gameplay, I'm going to show you what happened when I tried to use the Burster Firefly. I tried to use the Airburst Seeker Mine. I might have tried some other ones too. So I will include some short montages of trying to do that, and you guys can see why I decided not to go that route. All right, let's move on, agents. All right, agents, now everybody's favorite time to talk about weapons, and I will always throw it out there. These are just my opinion of the best weapons to use. I always recommend you use whatever weapons work best for you. It doesn't matter if you have the big horn. If you can't use it, it's not a great gun. This goes for anything. No matter what anybody tells you to use what works best for you. That being said, here's my choices. So, as far as the exotic, there's two I'd go with. My primary selection would be the Scorpio. This is simply because of all the debuffs that it can apply, and the fact it applies status effects. All of these work in conjunction with the Eclipse protocol, and it just synergizes extremely well with this build. And I will generally use this, whip this out in Legendary when the tanks come out to help the team take them down faster. In Heroic, it turns out my high-end weapon works just fine for it, as you guys will see in the gameplay. But the Scorpio is the OP option. Another option for the exotic would be to use the Capacitor, and for all the reasons you would use it in a standard skill build, this works great with the status effect build too. Just like the Memento, it takes a bit of time to ramp up the damage, but it is a highly effective weapon. The other reason that I don't use the Capacitor is because the high-end weapon, my secondary weapon, actually my primary weapon, is an AR, and for ammo consumption reasons, I don't like running two of the same weapon. So that being said, let's get into what weapon choices we have. Now, probably the best argument in the high end would be for the named Everlasting Gaze. This is the rifle that has perfect perpetuation on here, and while this does not buff the actual bonus of perpetuation, which is the 50% bonus damage and duration to the next status effect you apply, it does have a much shorter cooldown at 16 seconds versus 20 seconds. So you're shaving 20% off the cooldown by using the rifle. I'm on console, so for me it's a little bit harder to get those headshots. So what I do is I elect for the standard version of perpetuation, and I use it on my Police M4. So the reason why I like the Police M4 is it's a super fast firing weapon. It's extremely accurate. I can use the link laser pointer on it to apply pulse to targets. It is very easy with this auto weapon to just spray and pray. This way, I get perpetuation procced, and I just keep the weapon out, and the next time I apply the status effect, right, I can just swap over to the Scorpio while perpetuation is on cooldown, use that to cause even more damage, debuff the enemy if I get enough shots into him, and then when perpetuation is off of cooldown, I go right back to the M4, and in everything short of Legendary, I don't even need to really pull out the Scorpio. I can get it all done with this weapon. Other options, you have the test subject if you wanted to go with in sync, perfectly in sync in that case. I don't like the test subject because you can't put the link laser pointer on it. So if you wanted to run a different AR, maybe you'd want to go with like the P416, which can take the link laser pointer, go with the regular in sync. Maybe you would want to run like a 249 LMG with in sync. That way you could suppress enemies and have in sync on there. So if you want in sync, there's a lot of different options for that. Other than that, you really just have all your standard, your sadist, if you want the damage to burning enemies and to light guys on fire, let's see, you can go with anything like Eyeless, any of the status effect bonus damage weapons would be fine. But here's another combo that works extremely well. Since in a group, what you could choose to do is run either the Scorpio or your perpetuation weapon alongside the Grudge. This has perfect vindictive on it. And the reason why you would do this is you use perpetuation to proc a longer status effect, which gives you more time to pull out the Grudge, kill an enemy, and proc perfect vindictive, which gives everybody on your team that 18% critical hit chance, critical hit damage. So this can help to buff everybody in your team's damage. Another option, if you want to go with the standard vindictive, is to put it on a double barrel shotgun or a sidearm. And if you see a low enemy health that is under a status effect, you can switch over to your sidearm, take them down, and then that will give your entire team that buff. So, food for thought as far as the weapons go. That's about it. Let me know if you guys have any other weapon combinations you can think of that would work. You never know what sort of combinations may tie into something else, another idea somebody may have. So please give any ideas you have, comment on it down below. Alright, agents, now we're going to just do some quick testing here with Future Perfect, Perpetuation, just to show a couple things about the gameplay, and everything else you guys will see in the actual gameplay after this. So, let's do the range testing. Alright guys, it's been a minute since we've been down here doing some damage testing, so I'm just going to do two quick approaches real quick here. Alright guys, so what we're going to do now is we're going to proc Future Perfect. I'm going to try to get Perpetuation procced, and then we're going to go ahead and see what we can do from there. So, bam, procced, up. So one downside to Perpetuation, guys, is if you switch off, you notice Perpetuation goes away, right? So, unfortunately, that's just a reality. It's the way it goes. Let's do this. I'm not sure, does this? Yeah, so the Artificer Hive doesn't seem to do shit. You know what? I probably covered that in my old bill, right? So keep in mind, guys, this is without any of the bonuses from Memento right now. So, like I said, it's almost 400,000 without anything. And as soon as we get any sort of... So check this out, right? That's just with Perpetuation. Nothing else rocking. Everything else is on cooldown, right? We're doing this almost 500,000 at that point. Again, without 390,000, right? And then with so that's how much of a difference just Perpetuation makes. Perpetuation, hands down, is the largest bonus to damage that you can get from any weapon. It's and just to, here, check this out. Just to show you guys what I'm talking about, if I switch out Perpetuation with, we're going to go with the test subject, right? Look at that, 440, so not even close, right? Yeah. All right. Come on, dude, this has got to fucking... Oh,
Agent killed.
See, so the burster is, you can't count on it at all.
%, complete.
See anything?
Oh,
complete.
that was pretty sweet. I don't think I've actually seen that happen like that before. That's cool.
Heavy contact here.
Oh man, did they just walk into it?
Engaging all enemies. No good. I have to read.
Go with the Firestarter.
No good.
On the light.
%complete.
Here we go. Perfect. Come on, dude. Yeah. Catch everybody on fire. Come on. Fuck, dude.
God damn it, these plates are too speed.
Got their range.
Oh, you're so fucked, dude. You can't heal through that, bro. You can't heal through it.
It's all 3 priority targets, down for the count.
gonna try the Airburst, but I just don't see this as being very viable.
%25 complete.
Oh, did they just move out of it? We're just literally gonna sit here and depend on our hive. Fucking totally messed, dude. Okay, there we got one dude with it, and see the burn
25%
is
complete.
barely, it's not even as much as the sticky or the flame.
I'm ready.
Serious trauma detected.
This is a little bit easier because this will actually track the target around, but still.
Wait, reloading. Visual is negative. Found one. I got one over there. They're throwing out seekers! Reloading! See them? I got him!
Dude, that's exactly what the fuck I'm talking about, dude.
Try not to die.
How the fuck is it that he's able to wait for literally the last second to get the perfect little jump out of there?
God damn it, these plates are
Oh,
Swiss
now I don't
cheese.
have any fucking, what's it called anymore? My memento is totally gone now.
Last one here. One more. They're gone.
It's all 3 priority targets, down for the count. And they know you're coming.
Alright, so now we'll go back to... Dude, really?
Press X to start.
Dude, they better put me right back in where we left off at. I'm gonna be pissed off. Great. Alright. We can probably get most of our memento before we even get started. I do like that. I think right. I'm hoping that right there is actually going to get all these dudes. I could be totally wrong. Totally wrong, but you know, here's the hoping. Bad boy.
Download initiated. %, complete.
Yeah.
Getting hit out here.
75% complete.
UAVs are up.
Here we go again.
Oh, is he dead already? Oh man, poor guy.
Keep it up.
It's all 3 priority targets, down for the count.
Never! I've been deployed! Enemy!
System malfunctioning. Incoming backup request.
No survivors! Good hit! Send him back! Getting shredded!
Damn, dude, you just got fucked up. You're talking all gun.
All clear. Black Tusk appears to have abandoned the location.
Well, agents, this build holds up just like any other one of the top-end status effect builds I've done. The one thing about this is it takes a while to ramp up to get that Memento backpack to the M30 position. Once you're there, though, it has better survivability than almost every other variation of the build I have. Puts out quality damage. Now, don't get me wrong, this is nothing like stacking our Maxedizer build or any of these maximum status effects, you know, using high-end combinations and stuff. But the reality is those variations of the build are so squishy, so fragile. You have such long cooldowns, they don't make gameplay very, very fun. I mean, you can make it happen, but it's tedious. I mean, I would rather go and try doing Legendary Solo with my purple, blue, green challenge build than I would to use some of these max damage status effect builds just because of how hard they are to really get everything to work right. That being said, I feel totally comfortable with this build in almost any situation. The only time I probably wouldn't feel good about this is solo in a wide open area, running around in the open world. You know those times when you're running around just maybe doing a bounty or something and you're in an engagement and then some dudes engage you from the left and all of a sudden you're getting shot behind you. You're like, okay, I'm gonna run right, but then there's 2 groups of enemies right now, and now all of a sudden you're fighting 5 different groups and oh, there's an aerial drone, right? So assuming we're not in that kind of situation, this build is stellar. I think it's awesome. You know, I'm interested to know what you guys think I may do differently. What are you guys doing differently? Leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys can imagine being tweaked with this to make it different, you know, hopefully even better. So thanks for watching this, guys. I really appreciate it. Do me a favor, smash that like button, Hopefully I've earned your guys' subscription at this point. If you learned something new or you think this build will help somebody out, please share the video. You guys all take it easy. Be as safe as you need to out there. And I'll see you, agents, in the dark zone.